Here at Ask an Enemy, we do take full advantage of our freedom of speech, and from time to time we may say things that offend certain people. No one is forcing you to download and or listen to this podcast. So if you're easily offended, go back to watching your Kirk Cameron movies, you fucking pussy.
Hit it!
And we're live.
Man,
What's up?
what did Kirk Cameron ever do to you, man?
He did too much, man.
Entertainment, man. That's the only thing he's ever.
What's up, everybody? That's the best way to start, man. Welcome to another episode of Ask an Enemy Interviews. I am your host, JC Salinas, creative director of Ask an Enemy Studios, creative protector of Howard Rourke. I am joined by my buddy and usually co-host, actually this side, Barry Peterson. Barry's second VP Peterson. That's totally made up.
Totally made up.
Yeah, totally made up. And of course, dude, it's a fucking honor to fucking have you on this show. We've got Gabe Gonzalez here from Smeltertown Ghosts, Sparta, Sleepercar, Clap of Thunder, audio engineer, master blaster motherfucker. Like, that list could go on forever, man. How you doing, man?
Good, man. Thanks for having me. This is fun.
Fucking A, man.
So far. I'm keeping,
right. Yeah, so there you go. Yeah, keeping tab, man. Keeping tabs.
Keeping tabs.
Yeah. So, so I wanted to do this. I've been wanting to do this episode for quite a long time. Obviously, Gabe, you know about this. Barry does too, because I've brought it up with him as well. About 7 years almost to the date, I released an album as Howard Rourke called You Can't Destroy the World Without a Soundtrack, Part 1, Orchestrate. And Gabe was a pretty big part of that, because without him, it wouldn't have been recorded as well, let's say that, right? Because this was recorded at Clap of Thunder.
I'm glad to have helped, man. You brought pretty much a bulk of the stuff, so I think I jumped in late with drums, and then we whittled away from there.
Yeah, and so that is kind of the thing that I do want to talk about for people who are obviously local to El Paso and want to record bands and stuff like that. Like, obviously, people who are familiar with the show are obviously familiar with how I switched over to game development, so that took a lot of my time. And I haven't I haven't paid much attention to, what venues have closed down and what audio recording places and stuff have closed down. And Gabe, since you are like in that line of fire, I would say, you're still doing that stuff in addition to doing all your music projects and everything as well, right?
Yeah,
it's not a set thing anymore, though, right? You're kind of just jumping around.
Yeah, I freelance, and I've been freelancing since I got out of school in '98. I was just lucky enough to, right out of school, join up with the At the Drive-In dudes and right go out on tour and pay some student loans back. So, since then, you bounce around in this industry, especially nowadays, and especially now with the coronavirus stuff. You've got to have a bunch of irons in the fire everywhere if you're going to get. And if this is what you want to do and not,
right.
The man demands you to do.
Right. Yeah. So let's go ahead and do that, Gabe. Let's do a little bit of an intro for yourself, since obviously people who've watched the show before know my boy Barry here. So no intro necessary for my boy. But Gabe, he's all sad. Yeah. Gabe. Yeah. So let us know, basically how you got in the industry, dude. Because obviously, like, from what I've seen, and when we'll get into how we first met and all that stuff, but I want you to kind of go into like what started you on this path of like recording bands and stuff, right? Like, were you in bands before and then you started doing the music recording? Like, how did that whole thing work?
Yeah, when I was I started playing guitar because my brother started playing guitar when I was 7. I go, I want to do that too, because he's my older brother, so I just wanted to do whatever he wanted to do. So then that took me on the course. He went into punk rock, and I got into punk rock, that kind of thing. And he got me into the Smiths, so I'll never forgive him for, ever.
Oh, shit, that's something for later, man. I'm totally down to explore that. Let's unpack that one.
I just recently visited my brother, and we saw Morrissey on Broadway, right? Mm-hmm. And then, like, literally the next 2 days, we came back and saw all this weird stuff that he's into. Now I'm all, dude, I could have done so much other stuff on Broadway, and I saw this weird, semi-racist dude.
I get you, man. Yeah.
So down the rock, and like every other little Latino dude back in the '80s, I saw La Bamba, and I said, I want to do that. So
Die on a plane.
Not that.
No, just the first part.
Yeah.
I had a folk fight for a long time
Really?
because of that. And then we were coming back from England after a weird end of a tour, and we almost went down in over Greenland, right before Greenland. Like literally, like beyond 45-degree angles, like stuff was floating. Like drink cart smashed against the.
Holy
no,
crap.
it was bad, like weird dead. And then it leveled off, and you're all, fuck, man, I can't believe, you start taking, everything into consideration what happened. And then I remember, I'll never forget this, the pilot walked by us to the restroom. And I'm all, you motherfucker, get right back over there. And anyways, total segue, but
right.
not 30, it happened again. Boom, out of nowhere. And shit flew everywhere. I guess we were the first plane out back across the ocean, and you're the one who tells everyone where the air pockets are. So I guess you hit an air pocket, you lose lift, and you're supposed to dive into it fast.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you get at the end of it, you can come back up. I didn't know that, man. I thought I was dying.
No, yeah, dude. It's
The pilots are
the
just like,
worst feeling. Yeah. I mean, obviously,
so
I was never in that point where it dropped like that, but
And that was going through my head. I'm all, why couldn't I like someone else, man? Like, is
Jeez.
Carl Perkins that bad? Like, why couldn't I pick anyone else?
Fuck,
But
man.
and then I started a band in junior high with some buddies that didn't even play instruments. I said, you're going to play drums, and you're going to play, and then you just make it happen. And ever since then I've been playing, and I kind of started recording. I mean, I was in bands all the way up through the 90s, moved to Austin, did all that stuff. Band I was in at the time broke up, and I decided I still wanted to be in music somehow, but I didn't know my path forward. So I went into engineering, and mostly just to record my own stuff, which does not make any economical sense because I went to full scam.
Dude, me too. Yeah.
I actually went there, and I had to pay for my apartment. My folks.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
It was very expensive. But and then I went there in mind just to kind of learn the craft. And then when I came out with student loans and stuff like that, I was lucky enough that At the Drive-In was looking for somebody, and I wanted to be a studio guy. I wanted to be a serious tracking engineer,
Yeah,
and then when you see that, you're all, I'll go mix you guys in punk rock clubs, all squats in Italy. Yeah, I'll go.
Nice.
Is it, hey, yeah.
Yeah. No, totally, man. That's awesome.
Then, and then from there, ping pong from playing to engineering, whatever hat you need to wear to make it in this world, it's got to happen.
Yeah, especially in that industry, right? Because like it's like how we were talking about earlier with like this whole thing of like this is this. I know this is kind of weird, but it's the idea of like this is what I like about when shit happens and people like improvise and implement and like do all sorts of things where like fuck, this whole pandemic thing is happening, but is that going to stop you from like figuring out some other way to like stay alive? You know what I mean? Like, and in that type of industry, you kind of have to. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, being an engineer, it's good because, I mean, obviously you're a little bit tech savvy at some capacity,
Mm-hmm.
So you have a way to, like, immediately, all the engineers that I know went immediately to Zoom and figured out a way to rig everything together to be able to mix live online with, like, a client or something. Right. I mean, you just make your path, and do whatever you can.
Right.
And now slowly studios are opening up a little bit, but you have to wear a mask. You have to, which is a little weird, like wear a mask all the way up until it's like you're eating, take it off when you're on the mic or whatever like that. But you still have to social distance, and which is kind of hampering, but that's what you have to do. And
so how are you handling that now as like because I've seen like pictures that you post and stuff where you go like. So when you did the Howard Rourke album, you even just came here to my place too, and just you had your little like mobile setup, right? And that's all you needed, man. Granted, you were just doing vocals; it wasn't like you were micing up a whole band, but it's not like you weren't ready for that. So like,
Yeah, I mean, I've always been really into DIY kind of guerrilla recording.
Mhm.
It's always been. I've always liked the idea of going someplace where the artist is comfortable, you know? Because and I'm guilty of this, and even though I've spent a lot of my time in studios, like sometimes you get there and you choke, and you know you're paying $45 an hour, $50, $60, whatever it is, wherever you're at, and you choke, and then there goes your time, you know, and all you have is like a horrible karaoke version of the song that you had like grandiose like vision for.
Oh yeah.
This is gonna be our hit.
Yeah, this is it. And then everyone in the band's mad at you. You totally flubbed it, man. You flubbed it.
Yeah. Real quick, Gabe, just because this came into the chat, but Critical Damage says Gabe has the best background so far, and I do agree. You do look pretty pimp, man. You look like you're in a warehouse, and like if you're about to get up, you're gonna start like moving shit around like a forklift style.
This is a closet I built my wife when she was out in California. We live in a 500 square foot, 100-year-old Adobe, and has no closets in it. So she needed a closet, so built it.
Ooh.
Yeah,
Cool.
Still doesn't work.
Fancy.
Right.
You gotta do like Fonzie stuff to like hit it and open it, and
Yeah. Oh, that reminds me, Gabe. I remember. So when I first met you, or not when I first met you, but when we started working on this particular record, I remember going into the studio and you said that you were working with Tony on, because I had talked to you about how I was doing some video game stuff, and you told me that you guys were even working with like Hans, the dude from is it Hans Zimmerman, and working on some Call of Duty stuff. Is that anything you can kind of talk about?
that was Tony and his partner at the time. I don't know if they're still doing that. They were doing trailers for Hollywood flicks for quite a while at that time, and then they had also got into gaming.
Yeah.
I wasn't really too privy to that because they would do their super secret at the drive-in rehearsals before the reunion happened.
Right.
And I would just fire up. This was still a Clap of Thunder. I would just fire up the console, fire up Pro Tools, and go, okay, here's where everything is, and have at it. But it was really cool. Like sometimes, like I'd help them run. We had a giant shipping container in the other half of our warehouse. I don't know if you remember.
Yeah.
And they were literally hitting it with like baseball bats and stuff to get the boom. So they were doing a lot of effects and stuff, Foley stuff for that. And I don't remember what happened with them. They did some really cool stuff. They would do orchestras overseas, like in Poland and stuff like that. They were doing some cool stuff.
That's fucking rad, man. Have you done any of that kind of stuff? Because like here in town, you can't. You're back in El Paso, right? Because I thought you left to Austin for a while, or have you still been in El Paso?
No, yeah, I lived in Austin for a good number of years, and like 2009, I came back.
Okay.
And then when I started Clap of Thunder, and I've been back since then.
Okay.
But now I'm out in San Eli, like way in the boonies.
Right. That's
out in the boonies.
How far is that from? Yeah, because aren't you kind of like just a jump skipping away from fucking Tornillo then? Or...
Yeah, actually, I'm still about
closer,
30 minutes away.
Yeah.
From there, if you go the back roads. But yeah, so
because it's like that's that way, right? And then like Tornillo, you would just keep going straight.
Well, I can keep going straight.
It's just that way.
And you hit it.
Yeah, it's not like this.
Yeah.
It's like this, man.
It's over there.
Yeah.
Just a lot better than the 375 downtown. It's definitely a lot better now.
Yeah.
Because like from Tricky used to take me about 45 minutes sometimes.
Right.
35 minutes.
Gross.
Right.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Every night, you know, and then you get to relive like all the stupidity you saw. Like, why did that kid jump from the balcony? Why?
Oh.
Was that a Devices and Shift show?
Because Green Day told him to.
The worst one I ever saw was friggin' Green Day. This little kid was up in one of the balconies with his folks, and what's his name? Billy Joe said like, "Hey, send him down." And the little fucker jumped. Like, I just saw dollar signs following him like down. And the next thing I saw like the next day was Channel 7 over and over again. 12 o'clock.
Damn.
10 o'clock news, like showing that footage.
Yeah, that show, I was all the way in the back, like right under the little archway. And he was like pointing. He's like, I see that kid too. I'm like, what the hell is he doing? And I look up like, oh no, dude, don't do this, no. And then all of a sudden, no, he went. There he goes. All right.
Jeez, man.
Yeah, like
Ridiculous.
I wouldn't do that. And I was a grown man. I wouldn't do that jump.
Yeah. But it's funny that you're saying
One
dollar
regret
signs.
I have for Tricky is that we never had wrestling in there. I wanted to see someone else, like a grown man, jump from that balcony onto somebody else. I wanted to see that.
All fucking cage match.
But never happened, man.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
man.
So, right. So for those who don't know, Gabe also obviously ran sound at Tricky Falls, and well, Tricky's not there anymore. So this is kind of what I was talking
Church
about.
now.
Yeah.
It's the House of the Lord.
I know. I was gonna say, dude, are you running sound for them now too? All holy and shit.
I know some of those guys, but no, I'm not.
Yeah.
Actually, someone posted the other day on Instagram. They're finally tearing out that men's restroom, all the fixtures and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I posted saying, like, I've always said that we're gonna need God with this plumbing. We're gonna need God's help with this plumbing.
Hey, your prayers were
That's
answered, man.
Over and over again, in the middle of shows. Oh, that was a nightmare.
Jesus, man.
Jeez.
That sounds
Like,
intense.
nothing.
So,
Like someone got a shitload of incense. We need knock chocolate out of the truck now.
you don't mess around with incense, man. Like, Jesus Christ. Yeah, that stuff is some fucking terrible ass hippie shit. I can't stand the smell of that stuff.
The gutter punk's patchouli wasn't enough to cover up that scent. So.
Man. Yeah, so let's talk a bit about what came first, Gabe. Was it your audio? Well, yeah, you did your audio stuff. You said you went to Full Sail for all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if you like mentioning the name, but I do, because it's like I like letting people know that school for me also was a complete waste of time.
At the time, it was one of those things where I didn't know you could apprentice under someone to do that stuff, you know?
Right.
I didn't know I could go hang out with Bill Welsh or Rod Crosby and just tag along, or Steve Ligorio, or,
Right.
I just didn't know.
Right.
I thought you had to go to school for that. So I did. And it's just one of those things. You get out of it what you put in, I think, like you see a lot of those green guys, they have a bad rep because all they're coming out with just with a shitload of acronyms. Like, what does that do to me, man?
Yeah.
What happens when that goes up?
Okay,
You're gonna help
so
me and I was that same guy. I have to take responsibility. It's not just any kids. I mean, it gives you a kind of like leg boost up in like a year, and that's about it.
Okay, yeah, because that's what I was going to say is, like, because I spend most of my time telling people that, obviously I went for game design, and it was a complete waste of time because I didn't feel like I learned anything, right? Like, you have someone like Barry who went through so many fucking years of school, but, like your fucking thing is pretty much... would you say would you say it's worth it? Like, you learned something that you couldn't really just have learned from, like, watching a how-to video on YouTube, right? Like...
I mean, different industries, I think, are different things. Like, you wouldn't want to go to a doctor that has no doctorate.
Okay.
Like, oh, no, I got it. Trust me, I'm good. Like, I don't know, man.
Yeah. But that's kind of my point, is that like when it requires schooling for something like that, like a doctor, like you have to know so much shit. Like a lawyer, you have to know all these fucking laws. Granted, I guess you could just read them, whatever. But you know what I mean? Like that kind of stuff you need to have certification for. But like an audio engineer or a game developer or even like a political blogger or something, right? Like you just have to be good at that fucking thing. So, like, I was wondering, like, with the Full Sail thing, Barry, I don't know if you're going to add something to that. Let me just finish this question real quick. Was the idea with Full Sail is, did you feel like that it taught you anything that you didn't learn, or was it more just like a confirmation of kind of stuff you already knew? You know what I mean?
Well, no. I mean, I kind of was still pretty green. Like, before I went to Winter Park, Florida, I... was recording people on my cassette 4-track in my walk-in closet in Austin, Texas for like $5.
Nice.
So that was
I think that was the Egon album, dude.
that was the extent of my knowledge. So I mean, I did learn a lot, and you are hands-on there when you're actually there in the audio program, anyways. And my wife comes from a background from visual effects out in LA, and she knew a bunch of guys that came from Full Sail that were awesome because they did CGI and they had those weird purple computers with the plexi sides. I don't know what the hell it was, but I just remember going through them and going, "Wow, those look crazy."
Yeah, you're like, that's not a
this
Mac.
looks impressive.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Barry, go ahead. Were you going to add something?
oh yeah, I was just gonna say, like Gabe kind of mentioned a few minutes ago, when you're engineering, you're running a show, you're recording something, and something blows up. Like if you know how to fix it, you know how to fix it. You say guys come in with all these acronyms after their name. Well, if they don't know how to fix the thing, then who cares? If that's what you need in order to learn how to fix that thing, then I guess. But it sounds like that's the kind of thing that you can learn apprenticing, like you mentioned.
At school, they did have. We had a whole class dedicated to fixing stuff like soldering, like basic soldering skills and stuff like that. But it's pretty cramped to a tight time frame. So, like you get out of it what you put into it. If you're really concentrated on it. But I mean, I know when I went there was a big flare up of a lot of drugs. There's a lot of ODs and a lot of weird stuff going on.
Florida.
So a lot of kids,
rock and roll, huh?
Yeah,
man.
Exactly right.
Man, I lived at the apartment complex, and my regiment, every morning I'd wake up for class, go to the pool, get a Coke, and then drive my happy ass to school, right?
Yeah.
One day I went, there's yellow tape around the pool. I'm all, dude, how inconvenient, like typical American. Dude, I'm going to get my soda, 7-Eleven, and I go in, there's cops, I'm all, what happened? And he points at the pool, and there's a body floating in the pool, and no head. I'm all, where's the head?
Oh, what?
We're here.
Holy shit! You just given me some more ammunition for me to talk to people when I say I always tell them, I was like, there's no way I was moving to Florida, and holy shit, man! Wow.
Way back in the day when I guess now it used to be Winn-Dixie. Like there's no more Winn-Dixie now, but yeah, it was a different place. Full Sail was just in a shopping center. It was a business park. Now they have condos, and kind of. One of my favorite stories about that place, when after Drive-In broke up, I was basically out of a job, and I called them because they pride themselves on their placement department. I call them, I say, here's my predicament. A band I was touring with right now, my steady gig, just broke up and there's no resolution. I'm out of a job. I'd like to work either in Texas or California. And if you can send me a list. And on the number one name in my area in Texas was mine.
I remember you telling me that story.
The guy to call.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Try this guy in El Paso. Like,
yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah, so that's weird, dude, because
that guy won't return my calls anymore.
Yeah.
Dude, that is... Oh, man, that is so crazy, because that's exactly what I was thinking for, like, game design stuff, too, is, like, who are they going to refer me to here in town? Like, that's exactly why I thought school was the reason, because, like, you go and you learn whatever you're going to learn, and you could either start your own business or whatever, but fuck, if they're just going to refer you to places in your town if you don't want to leave, dude, that's fucking crazy.
It was weird.
Holy shit.
Ever since that, I kind of
or was
wrote
that
them off.
Was that just like deeply philosophical? You're like, what do I do? And they're like, talk to yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
right?
shit. Yeah.
Be introspective.
That's deep. That's deep, man.
I don't know how much you want to go into it, but I can tell you super amount of stories about that place. One time,
Oh, yeah, man. Fucking A.
Stevie Wonder came to visit the school, and you have to get into all the studios and all the hallways for the studios with a key card, right?
Okay.
Like at a factory, doctor's office, or whatever. It's a secure pass. And they were trying to show him how to swipe his card on the magnetic strip. Like, literally doing that.
Holy crap.
Stevie fucking Wonder. I was so mad.
Man.
One of his friends, like, grabbed his hand and did it, and we went through. It was like, oh.
Wow,
Like,
dude. Yeah.
But they had cool gear, man. I got to work on SSLs and knees.
Well, yeah, I mean, because
That's
that's
cool.
yeah, that's kind of the thing, right? Is like, again, it's like, when I would go to like GDC and all these events where I would meet people like game developers and stuff, and I told them I would drop out of Full Sail, they were like, "Why'd you drop out, man? It's such a good program." But it's because if you go there, you have access to the stuff that they have, and if you go there, you're in Florida. And again, that's what I always say is like there was no way in hell I was moving to Florida. So like, but I've heard over the years that if you do go there, you do learn more because you are more hands-on with stuff, and they actually teach you in terms of game design. They teach you the tools, kind of like in audio production. They would teach you Pro Tools and how to use Pro Tools and stuff like that, right? Where like the online classes. I mean, well, yeah, you did this stuff there, so it's a totally different thing. But online classes is just like, dude, it's like the first month was like, hey, do you know how to install Word on your computer? And I'm like, I'm coming to school for game design. Like, what? Like, it's not even the idea of like, what does Word have to do with game design? It's just like, how would I not be familiar with a computer if I'm coming to learn about video games? Like,
I believe Luis went as well online, and he told me pretty much the same kind of thing.
Yeah,
he did. Yeah.
Luis Mota.
Yeah.
What did he go for? Like the production?
Something to do with production. I don't remember exactly what.
Okay. Huh.
But yeah, he went for a while, and he told me the exact same thing as you did.
Yeah, it's.
I have people that I went to school with that are, bigwigs. You know what I mean? So I mean, it does things for some people. Those go-getters. I'm a musician, so inherently I'm a horrible salesman for myself. You know what I mean? Like
100%.
Sometimes I like to strum guitars and
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, 100%, dude. 100%.
Some of those go boom, 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 boom. And they get up.
Yeah. Well, and then it's also even just like the networking of it, right? So like maybe they just like that. Like Stevie Wonder shows up. Like Stevie Wonder isn't going to show up to your online class, but like you can talk to Stevie Wonder and like I don't know. Get some information from him to do something, someone else wouldn't have had the opportunity for. So I totally get that. Crazy. I see that.
He did a free concert for everybody while he was there, but he was in like some sort of a dispute with his label at the time or whoever owned his his catalog. And he could only do like weird covers. It was the weirdest Stevie Wonder concert ever, man.
Holy crap, man.
I'm very conspicuous. No, making up.
Yeah.
It was
holy
weird.
Crap. So yeah, speaking of which, of like the obviously going into your musician stuff now. So when we first met, it was on that tour with Sparta where I was lucky enough to join Airplanes Are Better. They needed a drummer, so I fit in, and we.
Great band. I love that band.
Yeah, dude, it was a lot of fun. Even like again, I wasn't originally in the band, so to be able to just like be a fan of them locally, and then all of a sudden it's like, hey, we need a drummer. I was like, sure, I know the songs. And then all of a sudden it's like, hey, we're going on tour with Sparta. I'm like, sure, yeah, that's cool, And then that's
were like your first kind of tour like that, and then Farouk had a Winnebago, right? And you guys all just jumped in. That's super sweet, man.
Dude,
the green van.
Yes, that was when we went to South by Southwest, and so and we showed up. We showed up at the front of like I guess what was it, Emo's, and you guys saw that our windshield was totally smashed. We drove from Fort Stockton, dude, all the way to Austin with this
like.
Yeah. It was basically like me looking out and then, Micah driving and shit, and then we just flip out. Yeah. But we were able to fit all of that stuff in the van.
It's fine.
Yeah. That was awesome though, man. Like those are the kind of things that I like, that are badass stories. But like, my stories are like stupid shit like that, dude. But like you have gone on tour. Obviously, you've been in Sparta. You've done Sleepercar. You did this sound and stuff for At the Drive-In. So like, you have to have some fucking cool stories of on the road stuff. Like even just before we started the show, you were already talking about stuff where I'm like, holy shit, dude. Like obviously, you can only talk about certain things, obviously, because there's some behind the scenes stuff you don't want to reveal necessarily. But what?
No, I'll hang out, man.
Yeah, fuck yeah. All right, let's do this, man. So,
one of my favorite stories is actually from that tour. Remember Portland?
Fucking A. Yeah.
I think Matt came on. Like we were doing our big number Air at the end, so it's like the big hoopla, and he comes on and gorilla suit on the stage, and we didn't know what we were doing, so we're just like taking shots at him, like we have no idea who it is. Bro. Jesse.
Yeah.
So we're doing like pushing this dude around, and then we find out it's him, and we're all, oh, that's it. We're gonna get him, you know.
Oh,
and
yeah.
then so we had a tour manager at the time who was a former teacher, so he could have the really talking to voice. Had you guys he handed you, and for the younger kids out there, he handed you guys like a couple $100 and a triptych, which is like a map back home to El Paso. He's all, here's a triptych, here's a couple $100, which is enough gas for you guys to go straight home. Thank you. You're like, and we kicked you off the tour.
Oh, yeah.
A video camera on the top bunk and just saw all of your faces go,
dude.
Okay. And then you guys walked out, and then we come out of there all, we got you.
Yeah, that was some legit ass shit, dude. And the crazy part, it's crazy you do mention that, because I remember telling Matt when he did that, I was like, dude, what the fuck are you doing? Because I had heard about what you guys did to the Thursday guys, and it was just like, you know, that you guys fuck with them and you guys fuck with each other, and I'm like,
oh yeah,
son of a
My favorite
bitch.
thing like that with that Thursday thing. We went back and forth for a long time with those dudes. They were awesome, really good sports. I love those dudes.
Yeah,
awesome dudes. One time I think it was like, I forget whose birthday it was. Anyways, one time their drummer was playing, Tucker was playing, and he had this giant fan next to him all the time because he, you know, always getting hot. We're playing hot little clubs. And one time we got a bag of flour and threw it in the fan. Boom! He's like, oh. And anyway, so they came back and got us with, I forgot what they did to our van. But anyways, Chopper and Jim came up with this idea of slightly opening a can of sardines and putting it under their wheel carpet inside their van. They didn't find it for months. I think they found out about it in an interview on like Spin or something from Jim in a magazine. Go, there it is. Oh my god,
that's awesome, dude. Yeah, because I remember. I think the one you're talking about is where they put like porn magazines or something all over your guys' van, if I remember correctly. Yeah,
they did something to us, and we're just like, oh, okay, that was. Yeah, great dudes, man. They're, you know, I saw Steve last time we were in New York, guitar player Steve, and it's always good to see that guy. Super kind-hearted, awesome, talented dude. And after all these years, like almost 20-something years later, you know, we still cherish those friendships, man.
Fucking A,
the road is, you know?
Yeah.
And then sometimes you have those people that you're all, I never want to see that son of a bitch again. You know?
Yeah. Well, I think that's why is like you build up these like relationships because again you're on the road for so long. It's kind of like I've always thought that tour is what would make or break a band as well, right? Because that's kind of what happens is you're just with these dudes for so long, and you know, like you either you figure out whether it's going to work or it's not pretty quick.
Yeah, it's a weird lifestyle. You know, when I used to do it, I mean, I haven't toured like that in years, but when you do it every day,
yeah,
it's years. It's hard. 1 year with just the driving dudes, I was just an audio dude. I think we were back collectively in El Paso for like 2 weeks collectively. Mm-hmm. Like not consecutively, like little days. The rest of the time, I think we went to England like 4 times or something that year, like 5 times, something like, oh man, hard.
Yeah.
I remember one time we did a tour in a Sprinter van with the chairs facing each other. And so you're just looking at this dude for like 6 weeks. Especially like Eastern Bloc where everything's gray and you're all depressed. You're all,
yeah,
I'm gonna choke him. No fight, no nothing. Just like, just all in your head. I'm gonna go crazy.
Yeah, because like, I mean, dude, that's the thing, dude. Is like, so like going out on the road and showing the game to people is like I'm always drawing parallels with like the video game industry and the music industry for that reason, because you're kind of still going out on the road and like touring, right? Like you're talking to people, you're showing your like project or your art or whatever to people, and it's crazy because I'm always because you know when people ask like where are you from or whatever, and I'm from El Paso, and they're like, oh cool, and then I mention at the drive-in, and then they like people from like Amsterdam and like all these places, like, you know, because you meet developers from everywhere, and there are people from like Germany and stuff who like know this fucking band from El Paso, you know, and it's just like, because also whenever I'm interviewed for stuff, I always bring up the idea of how like they were a big inspiration on me in the sense of like that, like you're talking about how they're always out on the road, they're like nonstop fucking, you know, like go for it, man. You know, and that's like one thing that like I feel like the town has kind of lost a bit from back in those days. Is like, yeah, that energy. Like when Relationship of Command came out, right? Go ahead, Vic.
No. I just say back in the day, it didn't matter what genre it was whether it was like the Pissing Razors or whatever. When they started, you're all Paso band because they just go to town. Like I seen back in the day, I used to see drive and play at like weird frat places for like, you know, because it was a stopover one-off thing, like for like 2 frat boys and go fucking ape shit, you know, just like rule those 2 dudes, and they total jock muscle, didn't care, frat boys, and they just left there with every piece of merch, just like believers, you know?
Yeah.
Like we do like the throw the mic in the pocket thing and just sing into the guy's chest, and the guy's all,
fuck yeah.
Yeah,
dude.
And just,
what do we do now?
Yeah.
What do I do?
Yeah, no, that's fucking rad, dude.
That and I think that's missing sometimes in El Paso bands, you know?
Yeah.
I've seen a couple of people that have that same F it kind of mentality and just do it. Go for it, you know?
Yeah.
When I've seen you perform live, you have that same thing. It's just like, you know, light the wick and go. Let's see what happens,
dude,
you know?
Yeah, fucking John Wick, motherfucker.
And I like that. There's one kid, man, I wish I could remember his name. I'm drawing a blank, but a taller dude. He like kind of raps over like old like 90s-esque house music, and then once the downbeat kicks in, just starts dancing. Even though it's like a totally different genre from what we used to do, it was that fire. You know, he just went to town. And one dude on stage, you're all, hell yeah, I'm gonna go up there and do the Running Man the best I can, and
yeah,
it gives you energy. You know, when you feel that energy, it's something palatable, and you want to join in. You know,
oh yeah,
and
man.
a lot of how it's a lot more reserved, I would say, which you know, it's cool.
Yeah. And yeah. No, and I totally get that, but it is just the idea of like Jacob says boosty. I don't know necessarily what it means by boosty, but
I know that he used to be in a metal band. I forget the name of them, but yeah, he's cool too. I've never seen him live, but I've seen some posts, and he just had a video come out. You know, I still try to follow as much and try to be pro the local scene as much as I can.
Of course.
And it's like you guys. I mean, Barry, like how many bands have you booked here, man? You were very vital in this industry as well, you know, and like all the kudos. 7 bands.
Yeah. So let's actually talk a little about that, because I did want to. I know you guys don't have too much time, so this is going to be a bit shorter of an episode, but I did want to get into some of that, Barry, because like obviously, like I wasn't obviously trying to cut you off at the beginning for the intro, but it's just people who are familiar with the show know what you do, and you can talk about some of that because it goes with you know, like Gabe working at Tricky Falls and running sound there and stuff, and like how you booked shows at Tricky Falls, right? And it's like there's like obviously because of the COVID thing, but there's no other venue that I could think of that has that like fucking bombastic, great, crisp fucking sound, and just like when I was able to do the CD release there, Gabe, like I was surprised that like how willing you were to do that, because I was like, man, Tricky Falls, that's like a dream for like bands to play, you know. And then it's like, dude, do it at Tricky, let's do it. And I'm like, holy shit. So like, like how many bands did you actually book?
How many? I don't know. I mean, figure probably doing about 100 shows a year for, I don't know, 9 years, 10 years, something like that.
Dang, man.
That's crazy.
Actually, you know, mentioning Tricky Falls, no, it is. It's insane, and it was exhausting, and you know, whatever. But the very last show that I ever did was actually at Tricky Falls. It was that Riverboat Gamblers show, and there was like 10 people there, and it was just a disaster. And like I remember the next day, because like we'd been promoting it for like a month, and sometimes kids in this town just don't support. And I remember at the end of the night just being like, I'm fucking done. Like, forget it. I just lost my will.
Yeah.
But it was fun. I mean, they were cool, and I think everybody had a good time. But
what do you think happened? Like,
I know those guys for a long time, and they were cool. I mean, sometimes there was, especially towards the end of Tricky Falls, we started noticing like a changing of the guard. Not only like EDM or other things, but just live music in general. Even people that we talked to around the country were having this like little dip, even before Corona, like way before, like 2 years ago. And there was like some disinterest or a lull, kind of in the industry as a whole, and no one really could pinpoint it. Sometimes we like, even when towards the end of Tricky, we would have our pre-sale tickets, and we'd notice like a good percentage of them wouldn't even show up, even though they had bought the tickets already. It was crazy.
That is weird, man. Like, what do you think?
On and stuff, but I mean, nothing that crazy that you wouldn't go to a show. I don't know. So I mean, to Barry, I mean, obviously the Gamblers are legends, and they're a fantastic band, and they're probably just like the Drive-In. Like, you see them, they go crazy. You know what I mean? That rock and roll show.
Well,
and no, go ahead.
No, but it's funny though, because like the Riverboat Gamblers, I love them. I think probably one of the best live bands I've ever seen. But they're big everywhere, like except El Paso. I mean, they must have come through here, a dozen times, and had really good crowds. I don't know, 2 or 3 times, and then they had a bunch of shows for 10 or 15, 20, 30 people. And you're just like, what's going on? Like, what are people doing? What's more important than this right now? So
El
I don't know.
Paso is a really strange market. It's a really strange market.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You never know.
And
then there's also that thing, like some kids or some people here in town, the way it goes is you know what, I saw them, and then sometimes there's not return audience, which in other cities I go, I'm gonna go again. It was a blast. Or it's like a tradition for somebody's like, oh, we went since we're in college and we're going. It's not like that here. Like, people like, oh, nah, but you know what, I saw it.
Yeah. There was a really sort of short list of bands that would come consistently and have good crowds, which was really strange, because you'd have these super amazing bands that would come once a year, and you're thinking, oh, people have been waiting, we finally got this, and then nobody shows up. And then P-Lander Z comes twice a year and sells out. I love P-Lander Z, by the way. I'm not knocking them.
Right.
But like, that's just, you're just like, well, wait, why are you kids coming out to this but not the Gamblers? Like, what the hell?
Well, it's like, wasn't the Ataris like that too, Barry? Where they had a pretty consistent, like the Ataris would always have a pretty consistent.
Oh yeah.
Thing,
Yeah.
and then it did.
And then
like,
then they fell off a cliff, man. I don't know
Yeah.
what was going on. I don't know what happened with them, but they just.
And we did a couple of shows for that. The singer at Tricky, when we do like the half house, we'd close the curtain or whatever.
Yeah.
And that dude was a monster, man. He drove in a van by himself to every shows.
Yeah.
All of his shows. I mean, it was crazy. Just him and an acoustic guitar. It was a solo tour.
Who is this?
Always,
Gabe?
why the van? The singer of the Ataris.
Oh, right.
Chris
Yeah.
Rowe. Yeah.
He probably lived in that van.
It was crazy. It was crazy.
Yeah, jeez, man. Fuck. Yeah. So let's talk a bit about. Let's see. We got some time here. You guys also let me know if you have to take off at a very specific time. I think you guys said till about 8:15, but if it has to be 8 o'clock, you just let me know.
30.
What's that?
Yeah, I said now 30.
Yeah. So I'll get some stuff here from the chat, because basically Jacob says we need venues again. They're all gone now, which is something, it seems like a running theme that we've been talking about almost every episode, is like, it seems like venues are closing down, or obviously because of this, but I feel like maybe before it, because if you don't mind me asking, Gabe, I don't know if it's something you can talk about or whatever, but what caused Tricky to close down? Like, was it straight up business? Was it
It was it was business, definitely. the construction had finally caught up to us in a way that we couldn't avoid. Yeah. And there was more coming, and we were luckily enough. I mean, there were some people with the city that were actually kind enough to make us privy to that stuff, and we had to see that the writing was on the wall. The rent at that space was pretty high. For those of you who know it was not an easy monthly bill, and before insurance, employees, booze, all that stuff. It's not the guarantees. It's not for the faint of heart. And when we started this thing, we always wanted to be, because at times El Paso, not La Tuya or anyone else, but other places, El Paso had a really bad reputation of snaking on guarantees and stuff. So people didn't want to come here, and they have to go through here because of I-10. It's a must. But imagine how bad it had to get and how bad the reputation had to be for you to want to just sleep here and watch a movie and get the hell out, and rather not play and sell a shirt or a CD or whatever you would make out. It was pretty bad. So our objective was definitely to make the reputation better, and no matter what the loss, pay up that night.
Right.
No matter what. So I think one thing. There was a show a couple years ago. I don't remember the promoter or what show it was. Well, I kind of do, but I'm not going to say. But the show was on a Sunday, and it was a national act, and it was a national, and the guy, like the national act skipped because they didn't have the rest of the money for the show. Around here, it hyped the show big time, and then the guy was retorting online saying like, "Well, who has all that money on a Sunday? Banks are closing ball. You know who? The promoter. That's who has that money on a Sunday.
That's your job to have that money, man."
And then that's the thing. We had a couple of shows that were humdingers that were just, like Barry was saying, like it was like a sure bet. Nope, not in El Paso,
That's crazy. Yeah, so really quick, Hector mentions in the chat, and I think this is an interesting thing because he says there were those nights where everyone was doing something, like Plaza Theater would do something, and then a game would be going on, some other art event would be going on, and then that downtown would be a clusterfuck. But, like, isn't that the thing people always are talking about with, like, I obviously always have this thing of Austin beef where people, always think Austin's better, and I'm like, fuck you guys. And it's like the thing is, like, they want El Paso to have that where, like, they have their own 6th Street where, like, there's always something going on. But then people don't go either because it's just like, well, so like Hector says here, on account of, not wanting to deal with it. Like, I can understand the idea of, like, I mean, because it's like you have Tricky, you have you have Plaza, you had Tricky, right? You had Plaza, all that stuff. If there's something going on, then that would mean that downtown would like revitalize, and there would be more to do downtown. But if there's so much going on, I don't see necessarily why that would be a bad thing. But it seems like even with that, it doesn't work.
Everyone always brought up the parking. Like, this is a big little city.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, they will not park down Overland 3 blocks and walk. They're like, oh no, I got to be right on the block. And, hey, can you move the bus and I can take that spot? We're playing right now, so they're not using it right now. So if I could just take that spot, that'd be really cool. Right now. There's still that mentality, a little bit of like, I have to walk like 3 blocks. It's like, how many times have you been in a bigger city like New York or whatever, you walk 20 blocks to get wherever you want? Yeah. Whatever,
that. It's like even they'll park downtown to walk the bridge over to go get drunk in Juarez. It's like, dude, why don't you come this way, So
it's a hard sell, right? Especially nowadays, or before all this started. Like, you have Speaking Rock, who does free shows of high caliber.
I was going to bring that up.
Great, great production value, and like most of the guys that work there are good friends of mine, and they do an awesome job. But they give it to you for free, so that deflates the market quite a bit.
Yeah. So I ran into Joe Dorgan once at one of those shows. Like Kel and I brought this up last time with Barry, where Kel and I went to go watch like one of those, what was it? One of those like summer fest things where it was like it was real bands. It wasn't like tributes. It was like, I can't remember the names, like Sugar Ray and stuff like that. Gin Blossoms. So like, but it was the actual bands, right? It wasn't some kind of tribute bullshit. And it was like a free show. And it's like, how do they do that? And then Joe Dorgan was like, even Joe Dorgan was like questioning it. And this is like when I think of business, like doing bar stuff here in El Paso, I think of Joe Dorgan. And even he was like, it's got to be liquor sales, or like he was still wondering what the hell it was. You think it was liquor sales?
Yeah. But not only that,
well,
I mean, but it's
casino.
good advertisement for their venues, you know, and all their that they do. So I mean, to them it was worth it, and I think it's very smart. If I were them, I would do the same thing, you know.
Yeah.
No.
Oh yeah.
On the other side, like we had a band. We made this mistake once, I believe. We had a band that had played Speaking Rock maybe 2 seasons before we had them at Tricky, and it tanked because it wasn't free, you know.
Oh,
so we learned that pretty quick. We're like, oh, nope, not again, you know. And then agents contact Bobby or Luis, who did the booking, and they'd say, well, I mean, they played Speaking Rock, but we can't have them, you know. We're going to lose our ass. I was like, unless you come down on the price, then it's the tug of war, you know. And
shit, wow,
I'll do a door deal, man.
Yeah,
it's like Guns N' Roses
door
deal.
Gotta,
you got it.
Yeah, you got to remind them, like, oh, they did super well at Speaking Rock. They had 10,000 people there. Like, yeah, they had 10,000 people who didn't pay a dime to get in.
Yeah.
You know, now you want me to charge $25 or $30 a head? You know,
right.
That's a tough sell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is really funny because I've witnessed this before. So Cal in the chat says, I'll walk, but many of us bad drivers say fuck that shit if we can't find an easy parking situation. And yeah, she's really bad at parking, so I can totally see her. I want to go see Gin Blossoms, and then it's like, I can't parallel park, you know, and then just take off. But
I'm
then
pretty bad at parallel parking myself. My wife gets on me all the time.
Really, dude.
Not very. No.
That's one thing I'll be proud of is I can actually parallel park like a motherfucker.
No, like on tour, like if we're doing a van and trailer tour or whatever, like I'm never parking. Like I guarantee you, Jim is there, and he's a pro. He's so good. But I'd be there forever. It'd be like Austin Powers, like 45.
Right on.
Turn it the opposite way. It's the opposite way, right?
Yeah, dude. Well, because when you have the trailer, it's like there's a weird way to do. Like there's a science to it and turning with it and everything. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, watching Jim is like super pro. It's like serpentine is all
damn.
Like Tai Chi move. I'm all damn.
he watched a lot of Karate Kid as a kid, man.
He's been touring. He's like 19.
Yeah.
That boy.
Yeah, and then Jacob in the chat also said, and when paid parking is offered, but they don't want to pay. So I'm assuming like when the venue would pay it or something? I don't know.
I don't know. Well, I mean, that was the good thing about at that time, meters were free after 6.
Right.
So doors were usually at 7, you know, unless it was some of those metal extravaganzas where it was like 20 bands started at 4 p.m. Ugh, I don't miss those.
Right.
Do not.
Well, yeah, and I think that, you know, you mentioned like the construction. There was just a perfect storm of stuff going on. There's 10 different events going on downtown. It's impossible to drive around because this street is closed. You have to go down this way. And so the fact that this street's closed means you lost 30 parking spaces on the street. And you guys are right smack in the middle of it, you know.
It became an issue. And then we survived the cable car stuff. You know, we got through that.
Sleepercar.
And then No, the actual...
I'm just fucking with you. I'm really bad at that stupid shit. Sorry, go ahead.
The streetcars, we survived that. And then once construction started on everything else, then that's what... we had no walk-up, so we couldn't even do like regular bar business on a normal night. You know?
Yeah.
The sidewalk would be eaten up, and people just didn't show up, you know? It was hard.
Okay, so this is a totally random question in the chat, but Monty X asks, apparently Kanye West is working with Mars Volta. Any word on that? I didn't even know that.
I saw that tweet. Yeah.
Oh shit.
I saw that. I saw that as well. I haven't talked to those dudes in a long, long time, so I don't know. But they're not afraid to work with all kinds of people for sure. You know.
Oh, fucking A. Well, their style of music. Sorry, Gabe, I cut you off. What'd you say?
Oh, no. I said I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, they work with a lot of different people, you know?
Yeah.
They're down with collaborations. Even stuff that hasn't been released. I mean, they work with tons of people.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think it's just like you could obviously tell the way Omar would do stuff on his own when he did his own label stuff too. It's just the style of music they're into is like, I don't know, is eclectic the right word? It's just like fucking all over the place, you know? Yeah. So yeah,
that was some of my memories of touring with Drive-In, especially in Europe when it was in a bus. Like just hearing everyone's headphones coming out, like you'd walk down and it sounded like a freak show. Someone was listening to Fela Kuti. Someone's listening to something like radio, craziness going down, walking down the aisle of the bus. Oh Jesus, yeah, very all over the place. They appreciate Sid Barrett era Pink Floyd.
Yeah. Right on.
Just like, what's going on? I'm tripping.
God, man. All right, so this is the thing, man, is time flies when you're fucking doing this show and just fucking chatting it up, that I always get distracted and don't ever hit the points I want to talk about. But I know you guys got a couple more minutes left. Gabe, if you want, like, we can talk about the song that we're going to play from you. So this was kind of a super last minute thing. Or the video.
Dude, the what now?
You don't have your acoustic, dude? What the fuck? Everything just goes downhill all of a sudden.
All of a sudden, he just freezes up.
I know, right? It's like there goes the internet connection. We were gonna play one of your videos here, and if you want to talk a little about the project that you're currently doing. So, obviously, you went. Not. What's that?
I do not.
Well, this has been fun.
Yeah, this has been fun, guys. Thanks for hanging out. I was gonna put the title for the song on it, but obviously that's cool. So when you did like the Sparta stuff, this is something I've brought up with you before. When you were doing the Sparta stuff, like obviously when you go to like watch them live and you go watch them on tour and everything, you're there, you're doing like all the keyboard stuff and everything, right? But there's also times when Sparta would be like on like a live like a Conan O'Brien or something like that. But I never saw you in there, and I was always curious why it never happened, because it was songs that you did parts on also, so it wasn't like there was no reason for you to be there. Like I know the building.
Yeah, told you, man.
You get all sad, dude. Yeah.
No, back in the day, obviously, what we were talking about earlier, I did sound for Drive-In. I was lucky enough to do all kinds of stuff with them. I did BBC Peel session, kind of weird stuff, and I did all their sound. And then once they broke up, long story, probably just as long. I'm not going to truncate it. But after Drive-In, I lost that job. Blaze James, their manager at the time, hooked me up with TSOL, the old school punk band, for a summer, just a job, and I'm really grateful for that, because that was one of the craziest experiences. That's a whole nother show that those dudes. But I'll never forget. We were somewhere in Florida, and it was actually, I do remember. It was UK Subs, Circle Jerks, and TSOL playing. It was the craziest show. Yeah, old school punk. So it was nice. And outside, we just finished loading in, and Paul calls me and says, "Hey man, so Drive-In's gone, and we're collecting the pieces, and we're making a new project, and we really would like to find someone, a local in El Paso, that plays keyboards and can play guitar and sing. Do you know anyone?"
Nice. Fuck, dude.
Ouch.
Damn. It's one of those passive aggressive ways. Yeah. Let me get my full sale list, dude.
We've been friends since the first grade, so it didn't take long. Like, hey, wait a second, you're fucking with me. So then we started. That's how wait. Where was I going with this? What was the question? What are we doing?
Oh, it was it was basically the idea of like why when Sparta does like Conan and stuff, you're not part of the band.
So when I went in, it was Tony, Jim, and Eric Sanger, and who else? And Paul, and that was the band. That's what they started with, and I was still on tour. So by the time I got back, I was brought in as an auxiliary player, as they call it in the industry. So I would just play aux guitars or samplers or keyboards or whatever, pots and pans, whatever it took. But yeah, so sometimes I was like, if I didn't play on the song, I wasn't on TV or whatever. So
Right. Okay.
so on sometimes I was, like sometimes we'd do air, and I have that little keyboard part that I played live.
Yeah.
We'll do it, but yeah. But I always enjoyed those times because I would just like kind of go underneath my little world. And our drum tech at the time, Rhino, was nice enough. He was Tony's guy, but he would like sneak me a drink, or Chopper would have like a Jack and Coke underneath there for me, cigarettes.
Nice.
So just have like a little party and just for live to spruce it up, like I forget which song it is, but there's like a low D or whatever, and I just hit it on the key. I'd be drinking and smoking and be all, oh wait, hold on, bong! And anyways, so I told him, what you can do,
Yeah.
So I was appreciative of those times that I did not have to play, especially at back in those days when I used to be more fun.
Well, because you were also doing a lot of their like tech stuff along with Chopper at some point, were you? Or was Chopper always like the guitar tech?
Chopper was always a guitar tech, but I kind of got this weird old school punk rock chip on my shoulder where I didn't like anyone tearing down my stuff or setting up my stuff.
I get you.
Weird thing like, oh, no, that's rock star shit. Just typical weird punk rock mentality.
Yeah.
It means nothing. But I always liked setting up and tearing down. On these last couple of Sparta tours I did, I would set up the mix. I would do sound check, and then the house guy would ride faders, which a lot of them don't like because a lot of us are grumpy, proud people, so they don't like not really mixing. So that didn't really go over well a couple times. But yeah, I like doing that as much as possible. I like to help out as much as I can and do what I do.
Right.
I mean, there's no hardcore partying or any stuff like that going on. Like, what else am I going to do? Like, well, let's do sound check.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
But yeah, the tech stuff.
Yeah. Huh. Yeah, because
Yeah, that was a pretty introspective for that.
Well, it's just, dude, I tell you, there's just like so many things I want to just keep going off with you, and I just it's so limited with time. But
sorry.
No, it's all good, man.
We could do it like machines, like in the 80s.
Dude,
super fast.
So I had this is totally fucking random, but I had a dream the other day where I was doing a show with someone, and I told him, I was like, dude, so I found out this really cool fucking tech where we talk like the Micro Machines guy, and we just do it like all of us talk that way. And it was really weird because we were all like speaking really fast and moving and everything. But then what happened was people would like insert these little chips into their head, and it would like project out like that, and it would be normal time. And I was like, but so here's the thing is the whole purpose of it, the whole purpose of that tech was so that we could make more, like the creators could make more episodes and pass them out. It was a weird fucking dream, but it was a way to like make more use of your time, because like your time is like when something is free, the most valuable thing in the world is your time, right? So like if you get a free demo for something and you're listening to it, those 30 minutes of like listening to that song, if it's not fucking worth it, they wasted your time. You can't get those 30 minutes back. You know what I mean? It's like a super random thing, but it's just like a weird fucking dream I had.
I would use that.
I drink too much espresso.
try to mimic Eminem's like first record. Well, I don't really say that. I would just waste it. I would just waste it. I'm
man.
a rep.
Yeah. In this country, you're free to use it for whatever you want, man. All right, so, so let's go ahead and end on your video, Gabe. Well, do you want to talk about the song a bit and then just transition to it, or do you want to just because you guys are the ones on time constraints, so we could either talk a bit about the song, play it, and come back, or we could talk about it and then just fade out. It's your call.
Whatever you guys want to do. Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty open. Basically, you had told me that you wanted to do this a couple weeks ago, and you said if you want to do it, you got to play a fucking song, or else.
I said two. You only gave me one.
Man, you don't even want to know what he asked me to do.
Shit, man.
there's a lot of chords in this song, so it's basically 2 songs.
Okay, yeah. That makes sense. So I would say this.
Notes.
Yeah, dude. Okay, so when you guys hear this song, and I'll play it in. Let's go ahead and play it. And then we'll come back for it, and then we'll close the show out that way. Is that cool? Okay. Really quick, do you want to give the name of the song at all, or is it just working title? It's up to you.
The working title is One by One, but yeah, it's just a song I've had for quite a long time, and I'm currently in this project, the Smeltertown Ghosts, which I've also had forever, but I'd never do anything like typical producer engineer guy. Like, I'm working on something. We're always working on stuff, you know. But yeah, so I have a compilation of like 30 songs I'm going to put out under this the Smeltertown Ghosts. Basically, after Volador, that band that fake band that I used to have in the early aughts, late 90s, basically it takes place after that, and so I'm calling it the Greatest Hits because it's been 30. Some of these songs I've been sitting on for like 25 years. So
okay,
Awesome.
One thing I did want to ask you about that though was because if I remember correctly, your Volador stuff, was it mostly instrumental, or did you have like what is it called, vocals? Because I don't remember hearing you singing.
Yeah, there's definitely some vocals, but I'm still insecure about my voice, but I was super insecure back then, so I'd put like crazy tremolos and flangers and anything to sweep it under the rug, you know? And then there was some like orchestrated stuff. It was weird. I was a weird person back then.
Well,
like there's that song, it's called Tourette's, and it just says, fuck, no, shit, fuck. No, that's the song.
That's awesome, man.
But that's actually like, you know, do you ever have like weird panic attacks and you have your like whatever you say, like some people say just one fuck, you know? Mine was fuck no shit, like fuck no shit, you know? Like whatever. You know, let's be honest. Let's be really honest with what goes on in my head. No, and I just put this big 4 on the floor drum beat back to it. I'm like, yeah, I like that. I'm gonna put that. And then it was only me in the band, just like yourself, you understand?
Right.
And you could hear me say like, this is what a one-man band sounds like at rehearsal. Let's go. And then I start talking to myself like an idiot. Tune it up.
Shit, man.
Last time. And just arguing like band practice. It's like, turn it up. Fuck you.
Yeah. That's crazy,
but anyways,
man.
That was that project. It was weird.
Yeah, and well, this is what I was going to say is because I'm not even going to waste my time with that story, but I lost a bunch of my CDs from a long time ago, and some of the songs that I was able to download from your website like a long fucking time ago, was part of my collection, and I just don't have it anymore. And obviously you can't find it on the internet anymore. I don't know if it's something you hit on purpose, but it's hard to find that stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
But yeah, so let's go ahead and listen to this jam, and we will see you guys here on the flip. I'll go and cue it up here. All right, guys, when we come back, we'll talk for a bit or whatever, but then when we fade out, just hang out for a bit, and then we'll disconnect afterwards. Cool?
She told no lies. She spoke of things so bright, too beautiful, that should not be seen. Sun. I was still by one, they all follow one by one, by one, by one.
Pretty
Hey, that was
legit,
pretty
man.
Good.
Pretty legit.
That's pretty good.
A little dramatic. I don't know. Bring it down.
So I did want to talk about a bit about that, dude, because that was one of those things. Is that obviously I had the privilege of listening to this first before we put it on here, and one of the things that caught my attention a lot was the way you were strumming, where it sounds very like flamenco style. I brought this up to you earlier, and it's just like very quick, like really quick strums. I know Barry probably like it doesn't understand or anything about this stuff. Do you, man? I always do that to you because I feel like when I talk about this kind of stuff, I feel like Barry's like,
It zones out.
Yeah,
No,
I don't know, man.
I'm listening.
Yeah. But yeah, dude, it's like, yeah. And that was a nylon acoustic, right?
Yeah, that was actually the first guitar my parents bought me,
No shit.
and I just kind of resurrected it for doing some recording stuff. And I go, you know what? I'm going to bust that out, even though it's not easy to play. It's like jumbo neck. It's so crazy.
Yeah,
I don't know
dude.
how I played that. It's super hard.
Yeah, like you
But,
could tell because it's just it looks super massive, and then you could tell just again by the way you were strumming and like digging into it that you kind of had to just to get any sound out of it.
But it's probably one of my favorite sounding guitars. I haven't played that guitar in maybe 15 years or something.
Yeah.
And just playing it, it's like, oh, like home. Like, oh, because it's very articulate. Like I can do crazy strumming, but I can still play notes on top of it, and they're audible, you know.
Yeah.
And if you do that on some other guitars, then they just kind of get buried and buried. Ba-dum, boom. Bury
That's
the
just
hatchet.
for you, man. Yeah.
But yeah, and I just decided like kind of one of those things like it's probably not a good idea to do like the first public performance kind of thing. I've done in years with a
Right.
guitar I don't play every day. I'm all fuck it.
Yeah. No, well, like that's the thing, man. Yeah. No, it came out great.
Spoke like, oh, let's see what happens when I do this.
No, that sounded great, dude.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, whatever.
And then Hector says, "Was that the closet in the background?" Because yeah, it's totally.
It's
Yeah,
the best spot that we have.
Yeah, it sounds like it captures the audio that just projects right from behind you. That's pretty cool.
Nah, it looks cool.
It also reminded me a lot of, obviously not 100%, but it had that same kind of vibe of like Breaking the Girl, like the Red Hot Chili Peppers jam. You guys remember that song at all? Yeah, it's just like very acoustic. It's a solid fucking jam, dude.
It's a weird little song. I had this idea, and I don't know why. The song is about comparing falling in love with an ocular migraine. So there you have it. That's why it's weird.
That's pretty
so it's
awesome,
like you
man.
can't hurt with like an acid trip. I don't know. I don't know what I was thinking, but
Yeah.
that's literally what
Very
it's
specific.
about.
So is that part of the new project that you're doing, the Smeltertown Ghost, or was that just a jam you did? Okay.
It's something I've been sitting on for a long time, and hopefully you can have me back on, or I can be back on
Absolutely.
at some point when it's done, because the recorded version of this is super Space Cadet, man. It's like crazy, weird synth leads on it and stuff. Sounds nothing like that. The foundation is the same, obviously, but yeah, it is. It has like this weird jazz drum in the back. It's not.
Holy shit!
It sounds like
Oh boy,
it's a love song.
Yeah.
Like an ocular migraine kind of way.
Well, yeah.
It sounds like that.
Yeah, because it also had a little bit of an odd time signature, didn't? Or was there just a little part in there that you kind of cut off there?
You know what? I don't know. I'm very bad at counting in songs. Like you can ask anyone that I've jammed with. Like, all right, come in on the up of the down. I don't know what you said, but I'll try my best, man.
Yeah.
I'll try my best.
Yeah.
I mean, I eventually
I'm ready to
get it.
Yeah, I had to do that a lot with the Devices guys because I was always like, all right, dude, it's gonna be 6/8, but we have a bit of like a 3/8 kind of intro thing, and they're like, just count and we'll see how it goes. Yeah, that was Devices on the way.
It's when you get called on your own shit. Like you're at practice and you have your guitar and you're like, oh, and they say, okay, it's on the up of the downbeat, right before the downbeat. And they're all, well, you start the song like, oh shit, like, you can't follow anymore.
Yeah,
sometimes
totally,
when we're so loud, like you can kind of get through, like you can kind of fake it,
Yeah, 100%.
You start, like, it's all you, man. Get it going.
Yeah, totally.
But that's like a lot from Sparta. I remember Red Alibi.
Yeah. Oh,
that
dude.
one I used to start, and I always forget that rhythm. Like, and it's super basic downbeat, like
yeah,
right. I'd always do like a like something weird.
Yeah. No,
and then that I think Paul started it from then on. I'm like, oh, that's better. That's a better choice. Yeah, Paul should start that song.
Every day on tour, I bet Jim got sick of me fucking requesting that fucking song because I would always say Red Alibi, all drunk in the fucking crowd, dude. It's one of my favorite fucking Sparta songs. All right, guys. Well, I guess I went over 5 minutes from your time, and I really appreciate you guys sticking around. Barry, thank you so much for doing this with me, man. Being the third fucking
Always
wheel,
fun, man. Hey.
I'm just fucking with you, man. You're my boy.
I'm the tricycle.
Yeah, pretty much, dude. It's like I'm over here steering with you guys. Yeah, Gabe, thank you so much, man. And I would definitely love to have you back on when you think you can do the next record or whenever you have time, man. Because I like talking to you about all this kind of stuff, and I actually do want to hear what the hell that song sounds like. Like a finalized thing, because I can
try to get that together just so we can gawk at how strange it is for no reason other than
dude. Well, yeah,
a lot of like doing that kind of stuff because it's like, oh, I've never heard this before, so just do it.
Yeah. We'll A/B them, dude. We'll play it and then play the other one and be like, what the fuck space hog ass shit is this, man? That'd be cool. Yeah, dude. Fucking space hog. Yeah. Dude, I think that was like some kind of subliminal because I meant to actually say Radiohead, but I said Space Hog. I knew what I was saying regardless, though. It's just pretty fucked up.
That's like the Kmart special version of Radiohead.
Oh, shit, man. Yeah. Really quick, just to give you some props, Gabe.
Well, it's just the same. It's just as good, Miko, but it's a little bit cheaper.
It's a little.
We have Radiohead at home, Mijo.
That's my parents would tell me I'd see like Nikes or something when I was a kid.
Oh,
I want those roofs with the pocket,
Yeah.
Fastbacks, Miko, from Anthony's. They're better.
Oh man.
From Anthony's.
Yeah. They said, bro, just because you saw them at the buoy doesn't mean they're fucking real, bro. Shit.
Anyway, thank you guys for hanging out. It was good to see your faces. I haven't seen you guys in a long time, and hope everyone keeps on keeping on, man. It's weird out there.
Yeah,
weirder than
A.
that song I wrote. Yeah, it's weird.
Fucking A. So just to end on this, Gabe, you got a comment in the chat from David Cantu who says this is a cool song. So you're on the right track, my man. You're on the right track.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. All right, so we are going to fade to black. Thank you guys so much for sticking around for this episode of Ask an Enemy interviews. I will be back, if I'm not mistaken, it's next Friday with my boy Jacob doing some old school songs from Radium and Ferma and all sorts of stuff.
Saw that.
Yeah. So I will see you guys next Friday. Gabe, hopefully I will see you soon. Barry, likewise, my man. Thank you guys for sticking around.